Hey everyone, welcome to the 138th edition of ClariTea Chat. Um, and today we have with us Mr. Sudhir Sharma, founder and CEO of INDI Design, a strategic design studio specializing in branding, business design, and digital strategies. Welcome, Sudhir sir. Welcome to the session.
Yeah, pleasure to be here on Clarity with you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, as I was watching this intro video, I just realized that I think today we are completing 4 years of ClariTea Chat. We started it in June 2021, and
Wow.
I think if I'm correct, 9th June 2021 was the first session. So it was weekly first. And I think after the first round of feedback with our audience, we changed it to bi-weekly because they were finding it hard to catch up. And I think this year we changed it to monthly. So we kind of just missed it somewhere in between that. This is completion of 4 years. So I think this makes it all the more special, Sudhi sir. And what better way to create this Hatke session, which is not like a tech talk, but bringing converging design along with the strategy and technology, which is where the real value happens. And who better to cover these, other than you, a top designer. So let's introduce Sudhir, guys. So Sudhir earned his design degree from INDI Ahmedabad and founded Indie Design to lead design-led transformation after an early stint co-founding Elephant Design with batchmates, which became India's noted design firms. So with over 35 years of experience in branding and design, though he doesn't look that old, but he has rich experience in branding and design. He has shaped iconic brands such as ICICI Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, Bajaj Auto, Bajaj Finserv, Venky's, and many more. The list goes on. He's also the founder of Design India magazine and the creator of India's Best Design Awards. His leadership philosophy is user experience is the product. Design thinking bridges physical and digital worlds to create meaningful human connections. So as you can see from this, I mean, this is going to go much deeper than, what we look at design as like, what the user experience is, but I think design goes much deeper, and it's been very enriching to know Sudhir and, his philosophy and how he does it, and which is what we will together know today. So today we will, as usual, cover his life story and explore his journey of making design a core business skill, from reshaping industries through digital physical convergence to advising on design policies. He redefines design as a strategy, not just aesthetics. He'll share how design thinking drives real world impact, insights on building a design career, and the evolving role of AI in shaping the future of design. And of course, as always, we'll end the chat with a rapid fire round to bring out the personal side of Sudhir and then a reverse question to me. So, Sudhir sir, before we start talking of some serious things, let's get some energy going up. Please share a humorous professional or personal incident.
Yeah, you know, in design, there's so many of these, but the most funny, and it's a consistent one. It happens all the time. Is um, I'm doing this session from Bombay, though I live in Pune. I've just driven down to Bombay, and when I was leaving home, I was telling my mom that I'm going to be on this podcast, and so she asked me, "What is this about?" I said, "This is about design." So, तो वो क्या होता है? No. No, this is my profession for last 40 years, 35 years. I'm practicing education, all that, and my parents still don't know what I do. I think this I find extremely funny, but that's life.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I have the same challenge, sir. My mom, like, when I try to explain her, after 2 minutes, she's like, I don't know, beta, what it is. But you must be doing it well. Yeah. So we'll know more about Sudhir, sir, as we go through, but that was funny, sir. So let me just acknowledge our audience. So we have CXOs, founders, IT managers, and seasoned technology industry leaders in our audience. All of us know that technology is necessary but not sufficient to drive business performance. And the guests on ClariTea Chat have built the bridge between necessary and sufficient with their art of managing technologies and management. And Clarity Chat builds that bridge between their learnings and all of you who are trying to make a powerful impact with tech. Thank you all for joining us for the last 137 episodes and encouraging us with your interactions and questions. And may I request our audience to share their name and where you are joining from in the comment box of LinkedIn or YouTube. There's always one guy who beats me to it, which is Amarinder. He knows I'm going to say this, so he's the first one to put a comment out there. Thanks, Amarinder, for joining. You've been one of our most consistent, audience, and I think he was also there on one of our Clarity chats. We had that audience interaction. Thanks, Amarinder, and for all the rest of you, please let us know. Otherwise, it will look like that it's only me, Sumit, and Amrinder here. Yeah. So thank you all for attending. So let's get on with our curiosity hats on with Sudhir. So Sudhir sir, please give us an overview of your education career roles, and maybe some one highlight from each, just to kind of give a sense to people that how you evolved to what you're today from being a fresh graduate out of the college.
So, see, my dad was in army. What that meant was that we were traveling various places. We didn't actually settle down in any city before I joined NID in 1983. I joined NID because I didn't want to do engineering and I didn't want to do medical, and these were the only two professions known at that time. Design was very fascinating. Well, that's something new, and it didn't mean art. It meant something beyond art, and I was fascinated. So I sort of joined NID. I think what that traveling to many places did was that I'm extremely comfortable into new environments. I can settle in very quickly. I don't really have to take time to understand what's going on. Extremely important for being a designer. Education at an ID is a learning by itself. It's a um, the education philosophy is that you actually learn by doing. There is nothing which is taught in classrooms, but you learn a lot by doing. And I think that was some of the best things which I keep saying this. Education at NID was they teach you how to learn. So you actually continue that even after you finish NID, because you just continue learning new businesses, new industry, new this thing forever. The time we were finishing the course, that time it was 6 years, 5.5, 6 years course. A few of us got together. I was extremely insecure about job milega nahi milega baad mein. So I thought, forget it. Let's not be dependent on anyone. Let's create our own company. So we created our own company. Decided to put that in Pune, because we realized that Pune was close to Mumbai but was not Mumbai. Mumbai was very scary for young people, right? All the things we heard that you can go get lost and all that. Pune sounded fantastic because it sounded like a sleepy little town next to this very big, huge place. And my thing was that we could go to Bombay, get the work, come back to Pune and do the work. So lifestyle would be very good to live, and working. What better place than Bombay? Um, but somehow, when we landed in Pune, we landed up getting a lot of work from Pune itself. I didn't
Oh,
realize that Pune was actually a heaven for technocrats. A lot of IIM, IT guys were actually doing wonderful stuff in small workshops everywhere. So we actually got very good response. Started doing very, very well. So it's a myth that you have to live in a big city and actually you can get very good work. And that time there was no internet, no telephones. I'm talking about 35 years back, right? So today it's a very different scenario altogether. Then in 2009, I moved on and created another company called INDI Design, focusing on branding, digital strategy. Digital had just started taking off at that time. Um, and on the way, I created a group, a online group called Design India, which was an online professional community on Yahoo, and this was credited as one of the first online professional communities in the world. And we landed up having a meeting in Asia Society in New York, where I was talking about, how did I create this community and all that. And this, I called it Design India. It still lives. It goes on living even now. Much later, 2010, I think I started a magazine called Design India. It was called Pool Magazine earlier, changed the name to Design India later, focusing on the creative fields in India. In 2015, I started running awards called India's Best Design Awards. They are today the most prestigious design awards in India. And very recently, about 2 months back, I've just founded something called Design Bharat Foundation. So this is another thing to propagate design. While all this is happening, my professional journey is continuing. I'm working with companies. I'm working on promotional design, writing books, magazines. I'm also lecturing in many colleges. I became a member of Design Council of India. So the Ministry of Industry formed a design council 2009, I think, where we landed up. And 2008, we had worked on the India's first design policy, which was given by the parliament. And we are right now working on the next design policy, which India would release soon. I came on many boards of design in India and many other countries, and started looking at design policy and how design can be in civil life and all that. So it goes on and on. So I don't think it ever ends, right?
Yeah.
And mixed professional work is fantastic, because you'll end up meeting business leaders, industry leaders. You'll end up meeting policy leaders and political leaders and all that. So it's really fantastic, and that's the journey.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So let me summarize it for you guys. So I think the biggest learning from NID was how to learn it, and
Yeah,
so started right an entrepreneur right out of college. Chose Pune, close to Mumbai, not so scary. By the way, when I first was like being pushed to come to Mumbai, I had exactly the same feelings. I actually pushed back with a very senior person for half an hour. Why I should be given a job outside of Mumbai in Tata Motors rather than in Mumbai. But of course, like once I started living in Mumbai, I started loving that, and I think Pune is what you said, like it's close to Mumbai, but much better life, much better weather. Completely connect with it. And I think you made a very good point that it's a myth that small cities don't have work, and especially now that
yeah,
everyone is very well connected. It's just your entrepreneurial spirit that will get things done. I can sense that, like, I think iPhone came in around 2007, which is when the digital design became like, popular. And I think you were one of the early movers into that area. Um, yeah. And I think one thing that I see is like, a constant theme that's coming. So two couple of things. One is that I think jumping into anything, no having no hassles about, oh my God, I'm going to be more busy, and then doing this with a spirit of giving back, starting a magazine, starting a community, and starting those design awards, Bharat Foundation. So I think that really comes out as a good theme that, listen, you actually grow and enrich yourself if you give back more than what you receive, right? Um, and of course, like, great to know that, you're working on the next phase of the India's design policy. So that's a very good bird's eye view, Sudhir sir. So now in the context of like, what we generally talk here, which is how to create significant value out of technology. And I think I'm not sure whether it came out in the video or not, but just to give you a quick background, the whole ClariTea Chat is started with some researches which said that in India it's like 83% of the technology projects fail to deliver value, and globally there was another Accenture study we got our hands on which said that 70% of the projects globally fail to create value. And then the point is that it's not just about technology, but it's about lots of other things, both, strategy, design, management, and then, what kind of processes you put around it. And I think that connected with people, and that's why we've been running it for 4 years now. So, sir, coming a little deeper now into, when we were talking earlier, you told us that, user experience is the product. And I think that was like a wow. I mean, nobody ever put it like this. Okay. And then design should be at the heart of business strategy. So maybe,
You
uh,
you know,
talk to us about it.
this is another thing which I thought I'll talk about. I'll get into what you're saying. I think many times we forget what is technology. The clarity around technology is not there. What is
Yeah.
technology?
Yeah.
Right? We say information technology. Earlier, we used to say information technology to mean a specific, if you're working with computers and all. Now, we've forgotten information. It's only technology. So, what does technology actually mean? And I was thinking about this. See, technology for me is application of science. So science is very basic principle. Somebody's it could be about mobility, it could be about movement, about corrosion, about how things are happening, or why things happen. But the moment you apply science, it becomes technology. But technology by itself is not usable. I think we should remember that. Technologists, people who are into technology, are not scientists. I think we should be very clear about this. Scientists are doing pure science. They don't care whether this is something which can be used or not used. They are working on concepts, philosophies, concepts which are again bringing clarity to life. There are people who understand these concepts and they pick it up and they create applications out of it. Applications which can be used for human betterment. Okay. Now this is where the designers come in. The designers are the people who have the consumer side or the human side completely covered. They are the guys who understand the human behavior. They understand what people want, what people need, how people want it, how do they need it, and it's extremely cultural. This is living basically, right? So the moment you apply a technology, now I'm talking technology, not science. The moment you apply technology to human life, that translation is done by designers, and that is what we call user experience.
Oh my God. I nobody has ever explained it to me this,
I
I
know.
would say, eloquently before. This is very, very useful, sir.
Clarity, right? So the user experience is how a person, a consumer, we call, see, it's the market language. We call anyone who uses something as a consumer. That's not true. A user, let's, instead of a consumer, let's call him a user, somebody who uses something. How a person would feel science is a experience, right? Nothing else. He will have to experience it, and that is the user experience. That's why I keep saying, if you are making a phone, that's how I talk to you. That is the user experience. So we have now, in tech terms, what has happened is we have defined or redefined user experience as something which happens only on the phone or on laptop, which is not true. Even before that, I mean, I'm holding a cup. It is the experience of how my two fingers are going inside, thumb is going on top, this third finger is actually supporting from here. A lot of science behind this, right? And how, look at this, it's livered, it's cantilevered, right? This is pure science. And how would you glue this here? This is experience. Now as you increase the weight into this might bend like that. How long can I hold it? How much should I fill it? How large the cup should be? The whole thing is a user experience. And then how do I drink with it, right? Is it too hot? It's too cold. Everything is experience finally. So I feel user experience is the product. I mean, is the user experience of building that cup, designing this cup. Now, when you say designing, there is ceramic, there is whole lot of, this goes into oven, there is a glaze, there's so many technologies which get into that. But finally, somebody is designing it so that it becomes a cup. And what is a cup for me? Finally, it's a user experience, right? It's a non-tech user experience. In today's experience, if you look at, and I think I didn't mention it to you, what is a bank today? I mean, let's look at that. A bank is nothing but an app on my phone. I don't even know if my bank has a branch or doesn't. I know they have branches, right? I bank with ICICI, the branding I did for the bank. But I really don't care where the bank exists, where their branches, how many people are there, because I'm sending money online, I'm receiving it on. So how good is the application? How good is that experience? Defines how good the bank is for me, frankly. If there is
Absolutely, absolutely.
a bank comes up and says absolutely fantastic experience of onboarding you and using service, I think people need that, and that is the bank. What else is a bank? So user experience is actually the bank, right? So especially in tech terms, I think, no, not only that, I think look at government. That's another example. I'm giving this example. Take the example of applying for a passport, for example. That's your government, right? You have to take a
Yeah,
passport from the government. Where is that experience happening? It's completely online.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
There is a part which is not online, and you actually dread that. You
Yeah,
dread बहुत
that's
लंबी वो
right.
go at 8:30 or not. But finally, what is it that the government is giving you online is the government for you, right? The whole governance is happening on that. Look at EV industry today.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great example of like an automotive.
In-car experience. So if you look at the what was that CarPlay Ultra? I don't know if you saw that. The latest Aston Martin has it.
Yeah, I
The
haven't seen that.
Yeah, the CarPlay Ultra is one which takes up the complete screen. It's run by Apple, and companies, the car companies are going to put into this. And frankly, when I buy a car today, I'm more worried that will I be able to see my Google map through my CarPlay or not than anything else in the car, because I don't know how to. What is the purpose of the car otherwise,
I
right?
agree.
Besides that, I want to know if the tire pressures are fine, right? If the doors are closed, how do I know all that? All that is user experience for me
Absolutely, absolutely.
on screen, right? So if a car is telling you so much information, fantastic. That car is very good. I don't care what is underside and inside the bonnet, right?
I agree. I agree. No,
Mm.
that's.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, sir.
So today, when companies are thinking of products and services, I think it's a myth that they need to plan the engineering of the physical product or the layout of a physical space first. That's a myth. They first need to figure out that interaction, what is needed, work backwards from there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a great one, sir. I mean, I would love to summarize the takeaways from this. I think the way you provided clarity around what is technology, application of science, and that application is for human betterment, and that's where the designers basically come in as a bridge between, the
People.
science and the human aspects of what and how people are going to need, and with the cultural context, and that's user experience. And the proof of a product is in experience, whether it's a cup or a or a bank website. So that's why the so while you said user experience is the product, I think when we were talking, you didn't tell me that much, so now I'm personally much more clear. And Sudhir gave two examples. One is of a cup, that how you design a cup is basically looking at the various scientific factors and then marrying them with how the user is going to find it pleasing or nice to hold, right, and then drink from it, etc. And then the bank website, today your perception of a bank actually goes by how well functional is the website and app, rather than like your experience at the branch. So I think that's a great one, sir. I mean, really excited So let me go back to to our audience. Some of those comments have started flowing in, but let me quickly acknowledge now it feels like a room where we are having a good discussion with some people. So let me quickly bring up people who have shared their presence, and for the rest, please share where you're joining from. So this is Pranay from Gurugram. Thanks, Pranay, for joining, and Mariana had joined from Pune. Hey, thanks, Mariana.
Hmm. Hi,
Good
Mariana.
validation, sir.
Imagine your wife is listening to you.
Absolutely, yeah. Otherwise, they don't. Sorry, Mariana, for that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we have Major Ambarish Singh from Varanasi. We have Ashwin Sinha joining from Dehradun. Wow, it's a truly global audience, actually. And then we have Rachna joining us from Pune. We have Pradeep ji. I think he's still in Pune, if I'm correct. So, Amrinder ji, um, I'll just come to your question. It's a long one. Let me get a little ahead, and then we'll come there. Okay. So, Sudhir sir, maybe just a quick follow-up question, and that let me merge it with with my next question, which is, you've spoken about the convergence of physical and digital experiences, and you gave some example here. So there is obviously, a gap in terms of, I mean, the kind of clarity that you have about how user experiences the product. So what are the big challenges that you see either in understanding or in, or in execution when business leaders, are trying to sort of like, excel and then what are the challenges in creating those seamless omni-channel experiences that feel unified?
So
And this is your view, but how do the business leaders view it, and where do you face the biggest challenge in like
yeah,
explaining or aligning them?
I feel I think not many business leaders. I'm not saying all. Many do. They don't understand the purpose of design or the purpose of business or the purpose of technology. उनको समझ में नहीं आता. So I always see that there is one great example we have, and we need to look at how they have worked around it. Is Apple. The amount of importance given to design in Apple, and I'll just turn it around and I'll tell you, it is how you position your business as. If you position your business as whatever you're selling, I mean, if it's you're selling a product or a service or whatever, if you say that the finally people will people need to buy it from you, right? People need to use that service, and the more they buy, the more they use, the bigger profit you have. The reason they will buy it from you or use it is that it is easier to buy, easier to use, and better to use. That's as simple as that. The moment business leaders understand that it is the user experience which is the business, right? The business leaders will give more emphasis to the user experience part, people who understand the user experience. Now look at what happens in our industries. Engineers, we put them into marketing, or marketing people, we put them into engineering situations. Advertising guys, there are people who actually do not understand the experience part at all, and they are made responsible to develop products or to improve on products or to build products. So the basic positioning of design has to change within the boardroom. Design has to be a front this thing even before marketing takes off. The design comes into the place, right? This is one. Second is a huge myth that the design is to do with aesthetics. Design is to do with aesthetics, right? And aesthetics has nothing to do with functionality. By the way, there's another podcast which I was talking listen about. Look at a car. What do we drool over in a car? It's not the engine. Engine is not visible, right? I mean, yeah, 3000 cc. So you can imagine the sound and all of that. But first thing you drool over is the design, the style. How can we say the style is not functional? So aesthetics and function are not two different things. Aesthetics is the first function. That's the first thing you see. right? Before anything, before you touch and feel and go close to it, you see. Aesthetics is extremely important. But the parameters to judge design have to go beyond aesthetics. It is the experience part, which is extremely important. Third is that design decisions are business decisions. People have to understand this. They are not and they have a direct impact on your profitability. I'll give you another example. I mean, this is the 29th year I'm doing annual report for Bajaj Auto. I'm designing the annual report, right? Besides that, I mean, we are designing many more annual reports this year. But it strikes me, why are we so careful about design of annual report? It's just a report, right? We just have to say itna profit kamaya, itna loss hua, all that. But it is important how we present our company to the investors. We need to come across as, look, we are also a good looking company, we are also done these products which are very well presented, and presentation matters, and it probably drives. So I feel companies and CEOs need to merge their what they actually, they don't know much about design. I think they need to start learning about design. Maybe later on somewhere I would say that there has to be a mandatory design education for anybody who's getting into a leadership position in any industry.
That's a very powerful statement, and I think so. The next one for you is to design a course specifically for CXOs on design appreciation.
Oh, there are. If you look at Stanford, for example, the D school, they call it the D school in Stanford. It's a design school. So they
Yeah,
do teach you how do you. It's called human centered design. What I've been talking about is human.
human-centered design. Yeah.
So what is human centered design is to basically learn what people want, what people need. Now, want and need are two different things. Steve Jobs has spoken a lot about this. What they need, they don't know how to articulate. So somebody needs to understand. If you ask what do you need, people will tell you what they know. What they don't know, they can't tell you, right? So that is, somebody else has to understand what they need. I'm talking about need. That's where the designers come in, and then give it to them in a way that they think, oh, this is what I wanted, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a very powerful point that you made, is that what they want and what they need. That means what they want, if you can understand what they need only when you go deeper into what they want, and go beyond the product part of it. So then I think again, great discussion. Let me put some takeaways for the audience. Yeah, so you are absolutely right. Most business leaders don't understand the purpose of design or technology, and in fact, because I was not a IT guy, and I became a CIO, and one of the first things I realized is that, why is there so much? If technology is so critical to your business, why is there rampant outsourcing? It's
Mm.
because it's because leaders don't understand the purpose of technology, right? They don't understand technology, but beyond that, they don't understand the purpose of technology. Would you ever outsource your nervous system? Right? You might outsource some parts of it. So I created a kind of framework as to what we should outsource and what we must not outsource, and I was happy that people understood it that way. But I think you're absolutely right. And then you gave the Apple example of, like, how you position your business. And I think what more beautiful way to put it, that, you will sell more when it's easier to buy, easier to use, and easier to get service, etc. Right? So I think if I really, like, then break it down into, it's not just about, like, easier to use. It's also the other things around it. Easier to buy, easier to service. So I think, again, the user experience uh, or design goes deeper than product. It also goes into the design of process. And in fact, as a CIO, I used to call myself as a student of processes, and I study Apple's processes very closely. And I think, the way they send you updates, and the way they have made it so easier for you to, like, transfer your data from old phone to new phone.
Mm.
The way they make those devices work with each other, as a lot of these things actually go beyond the experience of using the product.
And once you use their product, I doubt if you can get out of that.
Oh, no, you can't. I mean, then you will actually buy. And what happens is that the other thing that I've seen with Apple is, and maybe like, you can give a short follow-up comment on the Apple philosophy and your take on it. But as personally, what I've seen is that, you use one product, you don't realize the value of Apple. You bring a second one, and then you realize that, oh my God, they work like so well integrated. You copy on one and the paste on the other. And then, like, when I bought the AirPods, I was like, I mean, I was delighted that, if I have something going on in my MacBook, it connects there. I end it. I start music here. It automatically changes the connection. So the more products you buy, and I think that's like, that's so maybe your take on the Apple philosophy, sir.
Yeah, so it is like I think Apple figured it out very early that you need to design a whole ecosystem. One thing doesn't work. If you actually see, every company we know doesn't work, doesn't produce one thing. They produce 10 things, 20 things,
Correct.
50 things, right? And it only makes sense that they work with each other better than they work with others. It should.
It should, yeah, absolutely.
You're not reinventing wheel every time. It is like they need to work together much better. I keep wondering, why don't other companies get that very clearly? Why don't hotels get that clearly? Why don't cafes get that clearly? uh, you know and this thinking of ecosystem is not just product or service based,
Yeah,
right? This could be education, how you have your education, how you travel from one place to another. Now many cities, I think Italy has that very clear. If you are in Venice, for example, you can buy a ticket and you can use those water ferries as water taxis, and you can use the normal taxi, and the same thing is in the you can use it in the bus and in the train, right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
You can actually go way beyond it. I mean, now a little bit of that is coming up. For example, Fastag in India started that. You pay your
Yeah,
like you pay your tolls, you also pay your parking at the malls. So it has come to
correct.
that. But if you actually keep extending that Fastag or anything which we do, any damn product or service which we do, it's possible to create a ecosystem thinking for that. Banking, services at home, Zomato, Swiggy. I mean, endless. Everything can be an ecosystem. An
No,
ecosystem is
absolutely. And
profitable. I mean, that's another
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Companies know.
yeah. No, absolutely. And I think I would say that's the most powerful takeaway from here, that, uh,
Yeah.
design for the ecosystem. Don't just design the product, but design the ecosystem. So, sir, let me bring in some questions now. And guys, like, please ask questions. If these are like short ones, I will park them for the I'll park them for the rapid fire section. But I think Amrinder has a long question. It's like, India is a fast progressing country and economy. We need to do more to make our nation inclusive for differently able citizens. The government and corporates also need to ensure that consumer-facing websites, apps, and content are accessible and compatible with assistive technologies used by people with visual impairments. Uh, okay, no, I think. So let me share one story here, sir. Okay, so my HR actually escalated to me, something which is like, they wanted some software, and it has got some funny name, like. Maybe you would know that. So it's actually for visually impaired people. So we started hiring, some real diversity cases, and one of them was actually a person who was visually disabled, and they wanted the software, and the software was like, went above, that capex threshold in the company. There are items below a certain value you can buy in OPEX, and then above that you have to go for OPEX and all of that, right? And this came to me that, like, they were like hitting a roadblock everywhere. And then I was curious as to, like, what is this that, like, is getting escalated. So I actually asked, send the user to me. So this guy came, and I actually spent like, it was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting just to understand what he wants, so that I can, sponsor his case and I
Mm.
can fight with the guys. but I actually ended up spending a lot of time, and I'm still in touch with him. And it just talking to him actually opened a completely new world that exists, which we are not aware of and which we don't design for. So over to you, sir. With my personal experience, so accessibility.
Extremely important and very basic. And I think accessibility is a large policy question. It's not a design decision really. If you
I
look
agree.
at, for example, the environment in which we live in, I'll tell you personally. I'm say going through this. My mom's not hasn't been well, and she's in a, like, now she's come to a wheelchair situation, and I live in a place which is designed by an American designer. And I every day I keep saying that I'm so thankful that this place was designed by American designer, because every place is accessible. So we can, from the house we come to a lift, from lift to we come down, and there are no ramps and no there are no steps, and we can come to the road, and road say we can come to the temple, and temple say we can come to the club. I mean, everything is wheelchair accessible. I'm talking about one this thing
Yeah,
only. But if you look at the American standards, look at the European standards, we did a project in Oman sometime back, and we actually had a huge book given to us saying you have to mandatory, compulsorily follow these guidelines, which are uh, we were doing, for example, the signage wayfinding. What is the minimum size which you need to use? So these things are not to be figured by every designer every time. This can be figured out by some design team, spend one time and built into a Bible, and then the government needs to apply this as a policy for people, and people need to follow it. More than follow it, I think there has to be regulation that this is actually done. It seems
yeah,
like
yeah.
in India we do have guidelines for accessibility, but they're not followed. They're,
But they're
uh,
not enforced. Yeah.
they're not enforced. We have architectural guidelines. We have, for example, how the roads are to be made. I mean, you will find many roads without the footpaths on the side. So you keep wondering if roads are meant, they are meant for cars and vehicles. So does that mean that people are not supposed to walk on them? But if they walk, they get killed, right? So what do people do? I think the accessibility is a bigger question first for policymakers, for our political leadership, and then it comes to designers and technology people to take it up. It actually translates. I'm not just saying physical environment. Look at the accessibility on mobile phones. Somehow, again, Apple has been extremely aware and conscious about accessibility right from the first iPhone. Right? They have
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
your fonts bigger. You can, in fact, now that the new AirPods, for example, they are making hearing more accessible, visibility more accessible. There's color coordination for colorblind people, which can be done. I mean, there's so much more. So it's not, we have to depend on, I mean, there has to be regulation, but companies could do it on their own.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Apple
Yeah.
has that kind of following, like in differently able, just because I mean, if you look at their accessibility options, oh my God, they're like very,
Very.
very comprehensive.
I think it
Yeah,
finally comes down to the awareness of your leadership. If your
I agree.
leadership is aware, these things will fall into place.
Yeah. So Amrinder, I think the summary is that it's actually more of a policy decision and compliance, policy and compliance rather than a design. Because like if you have the policy guidelines, then it becomes
Designers
a
will,
hygiene for the design. Yeah, designers will just need to follow that, right?
yeah.
So, sir, let's move on to the next one, which is, by the way, I just wanted to bring in this observation, and I think which is such which probably one of the reasons, for the challenges around designing in integrated, which I have faced actually in my corporate career. The siloed kingdoms of product groups, departments, domains are the main hindrance to a seamless
Absolutely right.
ecosystem.
I think, Sunil, you just
Absolutely right.
hit on the head. This is the problem.
That's the
Absolutely.
problem. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, sir, you know you distinguish between design as a specialized skill requiring years of training versus design thinking as a process that everyone should learn, right? So let's give us a quick lowdown on design thinking as a process and how the tech savvy audience of ours gets onto a design thinking journey.
Yeah, so this is another realization I had sometime back. And this is basically, there was this conflict which started happening the moment user experience as a field came in. UX it's called, right? So UX, I say UX is different than user experience. That's another thing. UX is when you are applying user experience only to the technology screens. And user experience is when you put it to the petrol pump, really. So I mean, we started seeing that there were people who were actually going through a course for 2 weeks or 4 weeks, and they started calling themselves as designers, and actually doing fabulous job um, of helping designers to create products. And there were designers who were actually studying for 4 years and 6 years and maybe doing PhDs and still not having that quality of thinking which is needed, right? But fabulous in terms of skills. And once you give them something and they start working on it, it comes out something and say, I didn't need this, but I like it, right? So I've been thinking about this for quite some years now, and finally I've come to this understanding that design has two parts, two characters. It's a bipolar theory. One pole says that design is doing, you have to do design, and another says that design is thinking, how you think about design. So let's talk about the thinking design. Thinking design is the problem solution activity. How do you you collect a problem, how do you think about that problem, how do you think of a solution? You may not be able to actually visualize the solution or develop the solution by yourself, but you know this is the solution. Okay, there is a way you need to research. So research is a large part. There is a way you need to collect the context, lots of different contexts, and there is a way you need to put all this into parameters and then come up with something which solves all your problems into that. That's the design thinking part. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of ideating. It's a way you think of a creative idea. You think of an idea which then other people look at it and say this is creative because they don't know what the problem was. This actually doesn't take time. It basically requires exposure to this process. It's a technology. It's a process. It can be converted into an app as well, and it requires exposure to this process. And I keep saying that this particular process of how do you solve problems has to be taught to everyone, right from political leaders to industrial leaders and it doesn't take much time. It can take as little as 3 days. So we can do design workshops in 3 days, or as long as maybe 6 months, where you actually start thinking a lot, and the moment somebody gives you information, you start putting it into blocks and you come out with the solution. You don't need more than that. You should be able to read. Basically, you learn how to learn. This is again the same thing, right? How to learn about various things.
Absolutely.
How do you
No,
come up with
no, that's great, sir.
how do you come out with new payment solution? Now I'll come up with, for example, during some time there is a issue that I do not want to touch my credit card, or I don't want to give my credit card to somebody, and how can you still take the payment from me? It was a problem somebody solved, right? That's a design thinking problem. So somebody came up with, can I give my whatever is in my credit card without touching it to a surface? So I don't need to hand over my credit card, but I give the information to the machine. So design thinking is that solution. Then the tech guys get into that and say, okay, now what do I need to do? How do I bring it into a technology called NFC, that it comes close but actually transfer the whole thing? So the tech guys come into that, right? Then the design guys come into that, say, I need to make the interface very beautiful. How do how do I tell you that you don't need to touch, you don't need to hand over the phone and hand over the credit card and all that? Now, design doing requires a lot of practice. It is a skill. It is not just thinking, it's a skill. Skills take time to learn. So if you are doing design, doing design doing. Actually, you need to learn about art, you need to learn about various forms of drawings. How do you convey specifications? How do you read specifications? How do you do technical drawings? How do you what are colors, what are various colors? You need to train your eye, you need to train your hand, you need to train your brain. That takes 4 years to do.
No, absolutely, sir. No, I think that's a very good way to kind of like, put it that, the design thinking is a way of ideating, the
Right.
how do you solve problems, but then, design per se, what takes time to learn is basically the skill
how,
of,
how do you
yeah,
action
of how do you actualize that
idea?
solution into the detailing of that. So, sir, I'll let's go a little faster. I mean, my God, I mean, 50 minutes, and you feel that we've been talking for 20 minutes now.
Okay.
So, sir, in our times, I mean, a lot of because my daughter is also studying design, and I actually field a lot of questions, from my classmates and other guys, like, hey, what's this all about? Tell us about your experience. So maybe I want to, you have seen that continuum, where from engineering and medical being the only two fields available to people, now there is a plethora of career choices.
Hmm.
So maybe, like, this is something which I will, cut a reel out of it, and then, anybody who asks me that, okay, so my son is saying I want to do design, I'll just send him this. Okay, instead of asking me, here is the word from the top guy, right? So what's your advice to people looking to build careers in design today, and what kind of new opportunities are emerging there?
So I feel design I thought was a evolving field, but now AI has come in. Okay, so a lot of people say end of everything what you knew. Now everything starts. The way I look at it is that design is definitely the foundation of every other field. So some of my seniors had advised me when I was a student that I used to ask this question: why should I become a designer? Will I be able to make a living? I mean, my simple question. And they were like, if you become a designer and then you want to become an engineer, you'll be a better engineer. If you become a designer and then you go to army, you will be a better soldier. If you become a designer and then you make a table for yourself, you will make a better table. The reason is that you understand how to learn, how to quickly absorb things, and then what is the best way to deploy them. I think that's the skill which comes in by being a designer. That's for me. I think that's the foundation. Today, I really feel that design should be taught in schools. It is something which will take our culture ahead. It is something which will take our economy ahead. It'll productivity ahead. I mean, we keep hearing about how our productivity has fallen, right? I think all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
will basically work. We need to we need to take design more seriously, and parents especially need to start looking at design as a fundamental career, not just medical and engineering and trading. And see, no startup can happen without design, really. If the startups are happening without design, I'm telling you, they're doing something fundamentally wrong. They're not really working on it. And with the AI which is coming in, that's the next big elephant in the room, right? AI, I think, is helping design in a big way, because what AI is doing is it's cut down your learning time. So there is a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
lot of research you would have spent 6 months to do, which frankly now you can do in 2 days time, because designers know exactly what they want to ask and what they want to know.
Yeah, correct, correct.
You don't have to go through riffraff, and you can cut this and you can quickly get to the, so you can spend less time in thinking of solutions and more time in actually implementing solutions.
No, absolutely. No, I think that's a great way to put it, sir. So I mean, it's anyway a foundation. So if you want to make a career in that, and let's say tomorrow you want to change the career, I mean, no, I mean, you will be a better professional in that other career. And I really like the fact that, when you said that design should be taught in schools, I hope, sir, when you're working on the government policy part, you are influencing them to include this in the MEP.
We're trying to do that. You never know. The funny part is that design somehow is, as a word, is seen as very frivolous. It's not seen.
Yeah,
So that has happened, but otherwise, I think the government is also very serious about what design can do. They are taking it very seriously.
no, that's very good, sir. And I mean, forming that group and then you being there, it itself tells about the seriousness. So, sir, there is one technical question. So, from Sunil, he's asking, is requirements engineering a field of design thinking or design thinking a field of requirements engineering? You can give a short answer to it.
I have no idea what is requirements engineering. So
Okay, okay.
I somehow feel the moment you put engineering into it, it is more about building things than actually creating something new, right? Thinking solutions.
I agree.
So
I
if it
think, I
is
think,
in,
I think,
yeah,
I think you answered it, which is like, design thinking gives you a solution and then you do the detailing of it. And I think that's where, like, listing down every single small little requirement also comes in. Yeah. Okay. So, sir, now coming to again, the elephant in the room, AI, right? No discussion today can conclude without a discussion on AI. So you've compared AI's current status to, that Ford's car being the horse carriage minus the horse. So so,
Mhm.
so, so tell us, like, how do you see it? Like, how is the new world
I think
coming up and from your lens?
we are too new into AI right now, very very early days. So we are trying to use AI the way we use our conventional thinking, right? So that Ford example was very interesting. It actually came from somewhere else. I was reading about EVs. When Ford first made the car, the Motorola car, engine wala car, they made it like horse carriage. It was the horse carriage without the horse, which was the car, because the whole idea of the car was that why it's called car, because it comes from carriage. If you actually see the mold
Ah,
of
okay.
carriage, that's how the car came in. So all Ford made was a carriage without the horse, and there was an engine mounted on it, and there was just like a person would ride the horse right in front of the carriage. There was a driver sitting outside the cabin. If you remember the first cars, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
From there, if you now look at the evolution of the cars, so where cars are right now, I mean, it's nowhere related to that horse carriage at all. You will not see any similarity. Similarly, I feel the AI right now, we're using AI and we are comparing what you can do with conventional thinking and conventional processes of doing it, and we're trying to augment our normal way of working with AI. We are not really using AI as such. Where AI would go, God only knows. So I feel AI would mature in or probably the ways we use AI would mature in next 5 to 7 years. It's too early. Till then, we are going to keep thinking in our conventional ways and keep applying AI. We will apply AI, will not actually use it, right? So that was my thinking. I don't think AI will ever replace designers. I just wrote a book,
Okay.
another for a professor of mine, and he said you use Chat GPT, right? So I used a lot of Chat GPT. So I said yes, I used Chat GPT to write the book. I could actually write the book in probably a month's time. The whole book is written in a month, about his life and his career and his work. And then I was thinking about this: that is that something wrong or something bad? Then I think no. If you say the layout of the book was done by using Adobe, right? I've written the book using ChatGPT. What's wrong with that? You can design a book. In fact, you would design a book by using Adobe, and two different designers will use them differently and still claim the design. Is the same thing about writing. AI is not
Yeah,
writing.
yeah.
So I feel the use scenarios of AI are still emerging. It's absolutely it's not going to replace designers. Smart designers, smarter people will be able to use it properly. I think we will not lose the human creativity. In fact, we will only become more creative with this. I
No,
think best
absolutely, yeah.
about being a designer is, and I always say this in my classes also, that every designer has to be an entrepreneur. What does entrepreneur mean? That you are doing जुगाड़ all the time. You're figuring out, अच्छा ये ऐसा करता हूँ, नहीं ऐसा करता हूँ, ये information यहाँ से लाता हूँ, ये करूँगा तो ये हो जाएगा. That is what entrepreneur is doing all the time. So every designer has to be entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur doesn't have to be a designer,
Correct, correct.
right? So
Actually, yeah, go ahead.
I feel AI is finally helping you do it better, faster, on
Yeah,
your instinct.
absolutely. So actually, in being an entrepreneur, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. I think the difference that I see, where I connect the two when you said a designer has to be an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur has to think end to end, right? I have to see right from prospecting to keeping customers happy, and it's all it all has to be thought through. You might use different people for executing it, right? And I think what we were discussing earlier, the ecosystem thinking and all of that. I think that's where I connected it with. So, sir, thanks. I think we are just at the end of time, so I hope it's okay to take a few more minutes to
I
conclude
have
the rest of it.
sure.
Okay. And dear audience, with your permission, everybody out there, we'll go through the interesting sections of it. So, great conversation so far. So let's move to the other exciting round of it, which is the rapid fire question. So if anybody has developed more curiosities about, Sudhir, where does he take inspiration from? What's the best book he has read? Please start filing your questions. Meanwhile, I have some for him, which I will start asking. So, what's the biggest design mistake you see companies making today?
I think this is confusing R&D and marketing and design. I think that's the biggest
Okay.
mistake. They think if we have good marketing, we don't need design. If we have good R&D, we don't need design. I think they put many times they put marketing over design. So I think that's where the mistake is happening. They have to put the horse in the front. They're putting horse in the back. So that's where they land up making the biggest mistake.
Okay. No, I think that's bang on. That's bang on. Sir. Say, yeah, do you want to talk about the trouser return experience and and what was your insight?
No, so I always say that the digital experience is useless unless it's backed by the physical experience. So Zomato, Swiggy,
I
I mean,
agree.
if they very good app, very good this thing, but your food takes 1 hour to deliver, you're not going to like it. If it comes in 10 minutes, you are very happy. And to deliver something in 10 minutes, imagine the amount of processes which are required, probably larger in working in the background than you spend on the user experience, right? The trouser experience was fantastic because I bought a trouser, um, wrong size. I had to return it. So I just went on the app and I said, wrong size. I bought it online. So I said, wrong size. I need to change it. Um, and this is my real size. And they just said, put it out. And, I think I had the new trouser back in next 3 days time. Next day, the earlier trouser was taken away. The money, whatever was there, was adjusted quickly. Fantastic experience. But it was not only digital. You also have to see that this was all backed by the back end, which is completely physical. So it's a myth that we are thinking that all tech companies are doing great because they're doing fantastic apps. It is huge amount of physical work which is done in the kitchens and to the delivery systems, and the amount of last minute transportation, EVs which are working to deliver those things to you. I think that is what I was mentioning.
I think this also like kind of puts into perspective what you said earlier about first doing a solution and then enabling it or leaning it with technology. Because if your solution is to deliver a trouser return in 3 days, right? then what all it will require, and then how do you solve it with technology? Because some one thing which really interests me when you talked about this delivery and return thing is I actually overlook at the screen of the delivery guy as to what is his experience.
Yeah.
Because if his experience is not great, then your experience, he will have difficulty delivering you the experience. So it's not about the customer, it's also about the guy who's delivering to the customer, and the way you design the process, the way this process interacts. So let's say I didn't get the OTP. So the guy actually, just presses the button and the OTP gets regenerated and stuff like that, right? Yeah.
And also for the user, it is not digital or physical. For him, it's the total experience.
It's a total experience. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. So maybe something interesting. If you could redesign one government service in India, what it would be and why?
Redesign one government service in India.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I mean, there would be almost the whole government needs to be designed online. No, so many.
Okay.
I mean, I told you my dad is ex-army. He's 90 years old, and the government has now transitioned the whole pension system online, and it's something called Sparsh, which I don't know when Sparsh was launched. We've never been able to use it. Not just him, me also. So I think the government and digital experiences don't go together in India. They
Yeah,
they
no,
need to
I
start
agree.
learning about that. So I would actually redesign the whole everything, all government services. The meaning of government to a person has to change. It is not
No,
politics, my
absolutely.
not
Yeah,
politicians. I think that's a confusion which we do. The government for me is what is sitting in Delhi. That's not true. Government is what I'm using every day, right? Water,
absolutely. Yeah.
electricity, all that.
So, and sometimes actually things get worse with technology because my personal experience, after 3 years of being out of a corporate job, then I had to take my PF funds. They stopped paying you interest. And it so happened that everything has to be digital, and there is no sunwai, there's no escalation mechanism, because everything is like you just post a grievance there, nobody looks at it. Okay.
Mm.
And you post another grievance, you will get something. So actually, it is funny how my problem got solved. I I happened to play a golf tournament, okay, with somebody who I discovered, during the course of playing, that he was a PF commissioner. Okay. And very hesitatingly, I asked him, I said, "Sir, I am facing this problem. Is there a way you can help me?" And he was generous enough to admit that, yes, there is a problem. In the pursuit of digitalization, we've lost that human touch, and those escalation mechanisms are not there. So finally, but even then, it took with his help, it took me another 6 months to get my
Okay.
claims.
Okay, I have an answer. I just thought of this. We recently had few government officials visiting our house
Mhm.
from Ministry of. They said they are from Ministry of Home Affairs to check some documentation. And frankly, there was no way we could ascertain that they were real or they were frauds. Right? They showed us their
Yeah, yeah,
identity. They showed us their identity, and I have no clue what a government identity looks like. And this is
yeah,
when
yeah, yeah. That's right.
I live in an apartment which is, my neighbor is the commissioner, police commissioner. And I spoke to those guys and they said, like, for this purpose, they shouldn't be coming. And now I figure out that that was a fraud. So
Oh,
one thing which has to happen is how do you ascertain identity of a person, at least government officials.
very, 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 very,
There has
very insightful, sir.
there has to be a way that I should be able to just, like you pass a OTP or something, I should be able to scan something and I should get something from a verifiable source saying, yeah, he's the person, he's the right person. You're not dealing with a fraud. And very easy,
Absolutely, absolutely.
not difficult. We're doing
And
UPI
and
and payments.
yeah, and it's actually like something very, very basic. Yeah.
And
Okay. So yeah, go ahead, sir.
everyone needs it, right?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean,
So,
tax
sir,
people. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah, let's go ahead.
yeah. So, sir, I just want to expedite it. I don't want to go beyond 15 minutes. We have 5 more minutes left. So, sir, your favorite book?
So there's a book I've written, which is my favorite book. It's called Design Attitude. No, seriously, I wrote it over
Yeah,
12. I wrote it over 12 years. I've forgotten what I wrote. So every day when I read it, I get charged by reading. This book is called Design Attitudes. And I really think that there's a lot of clarity to very simple concepts into that. Otherwise, there's a book
absolutely.
called Ways of Seeing, which has always been my personal favorite. I don't
Is it
remember
the ways of?
seeing. You know how
Okay.
I see something is not the way you see at it. So the moment we understand that we are looking at different things while looking at the same thing, I think we've got the solution and the problem in the same place.
So give me a minute, sir. I'm just noting it down in my to-dos to order that book.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And any hobby outside of work that many people may not know?
I mean, even I didn't know. I just discovered that I like writing. This is something which I discovered accidentally, and because I I mean I started doing the magazine, I started writing, I wasn't enjoying it. Then slowly I understand that I am extremely finicky about precise words. And I really enjoy writing. Nowadays I'm really liking it and using a lot of help wherever available.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, sir, just one last question on that. What is one piece of career advice you would give to a technology professional from your perspective? This is very, very selfish for my audience.
I've already given this, that become design aware. The moment you do
Okay.
that design thinking course, I'm telling you, if whatever technology, you will understand why are you working with certain technologies and how those technologies. I mean, what's the reason for those technologies to exist, right? And what
Absolutely.
direction will they take? I think become design aware. That is extremely important.
Absolutely, sir. So, sir, I've been asking you all the questions, so maybe this is your chance to ask me ask me one question before we wrap it up.
When is the first time you heard the term design?
Ah, that's a very interesting one. Actually, you know what? Very interestingly, I learned it while doing my engineering,
Hmm.
and I think it was we did have some yeah, right in the first year we had a course on engineering design, which was
Oh,
actually creating those 3D designs using that I mean I have even forgotten the name of that you use that right angle thing and it can move around the table and still maintain that coordinates.
yeah.
Yeah, engineering design was the first time. And I think I mean now that you ask me that question, I look back and yeah, we got it wrong right the first time.
Mhm.
That design is about drawings.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks, sir. Let's start wrapping it up. So this is like kind of a session summary that I did. So we talked about the early life of Sudhir. So NID taught him how to learn actually, and then he started as an entrepreneur right out of college. Chose Pune, broke the myth that you can thrive only in a big city. Very early mover to digital strategy in 2009 itself. Maybe a couple of years after the iPhone launch, which changed the complete field of digital design. um, uh, I mean, he has been giving much more back to the community, right from building a designer community, starting Design India magazine, India's Best Design Awards, and now starting Bharat Foundation, um, working on the design policy for the government. I mean, maybe a separate discussion about where he gets all this energy from. That's for a different time. Then we discussed about then I think when we talked about the how uh, I mean how user experiences the product, and very very beautifully he clarified what is technology. It's application of science, and that application needs to and that application of science needs to be very user friendly and user delightful, and that's where the designers come in. and he explained it with two examples, one of a cup and then one of a bank website. I think there can't be a more beautiful way to, to explain why user experience is the product. Um, then we talked about uh, the convergence of physical and digital experiences, and like, where do the leaders get it wrong? And very, very powerful and insightful comment that most business leaders don't understand the purpose. It's not that they don't understand design or technology, they don't understand the purpose of design and technology. And then we discussed Apple in a little bit of detail as to, I think again, no more powerful way than to say that, like, if you want to sell more, you make it easier to buy, you make it easier to use, and you make it easier to service, right? So we have to move from engineering driven products to design led products. And then the other thing that came out was that we have to focus on ecosystem design. And I think that's where there was one comment from Sunil Sharma that, that there are these silos in the organizations which basically are antidotes to ecosystem based design. So there's, like, I think sometimes you have to talk with somebody in HR, like, to say that, okay, how do you break silos, right? I think again, some very powerful words that, design decisions are business decisions and they impact your profit. And the fact that, CXOs need to learn about design. There are CXO focused design courses, which I think which people should look at. Um, and yeah, so then what else? I'm just going through the notes. Yeah, again, the advice to people who are looking at design as a career. So it's like, design is the foundation of everything. Uh, Even if you train as a designer, when you decide to pivot in your career, you will be a better professional in the new one. And I think again something, you said that, design should be taught in schools. And the other discussion we had was about how AI is impacting design. And Sudhir had a, while we all think that, AI is replacing designers, I think Sudhir had a view that AI is helping design in a big way, especially if you go to the, again, if you break that myth of design is about aesthetics, this design is about a lot of other things, research, and, like, diversity of viewpoints, etc., etc. I think that's where AI is helping a lot. And then we talked about how his views on AI, and I think there was a beautiful analogy he gave that when Ford designed the first car, they designed it actually like a carriage but without a horse. So the driver was sitting outside. And then where we have evolved, if you look at AI in that context, today we are using AI as an assistant, but I think where it is going to evolve is going to get very, very integrated with us. But the human creativity will still be important. And I think he made a big statement that AI will never replace designers. And I think another one was that, every designer has to be an entrepreneur. Not necessary for every entrepreneur to be a designer, but every designer has to be an entrepreneur. Um, and like that connects very well with the ecosystem driven thinking that we require. So guys, some recommendations: Design Attitude by Sudhir Sharma, please read it. And then The Ways of Seeing, that's another book, please try that. I'm definitely going to do that. um, and Yeah, I think great sessions are, as always, with every engaging session, we kind of just lose sense of time. And even though, and I when you are in the flow, I don't want to interrupt. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, everything is like, is a gem of I would say thoughts that we receive here. But by the way, anybody who feels that, we should give more importance to time than what we are discussing, my apologies. I know I did do get this feedback that, Jagdish, you overrun a discussion every time, and sorry, I can't help it. Especially with this discussion, I couldn't help it. So before we leave, thank you guys, everyone, for attending and engaging. We know that a majority of people who watch this session actually do it at leisure. They are not like, they don't want to lose their afternoon nap on a Saturday, and they would like, watch it later. And to all of you as well, thank you. If you're watching the recorded version, please do enjoy your family time, and the rest of the weekend is all yours. And thank you, Sudhir sir, once again for joining me on ClariTea Chat today. Thank you so much.
Great talking to you,
Thank you,
Jagdish.
guys.
Thank you so much for
Thank you,
having
sir.
me.
Great
Thank you.
session, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.